the regular meeting for the Zionsville Redevelopment Commission for Monday, January 23rd, 2023 at 6:30 local time. Is there anyone in the audience or online that would like to be recognized? You may get someone online that would want to be noted. Yes. Okay. Great. Corey? Corey Sharp? No, you're on the agenda next director's report. Yes, ma'am. That's what the agenda says.
So fast.
Do we want to elect officers first to get that out of the way?
I was wondering, yeah.
We may just skip forward to that and elect officers first. We do have to elect a president, vice president, and secretary. Previously, Sanjay held president and Kent held vice president. Secretary was Kate Swanson, but she's no longer part of the RDC at this time. So that position, but all three have to be voted on tonight.
Okay.
We make a motion?
For each one, yes.
I'd
And then you would vote.
like to make a motion to continue to have Sanjay as the president of the RDC.
I'll second.
You have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Well, I would say that I think we need to change. I think Sanjay's been there for 2 years now, 3 years. And I think after last year and the different things that we went through, I think we should have some type of change at the league for sure.
Are you proposing somebody?
Yeah, I would like to be the president this year. Yes, absolutely.
Brian, how do we have a motion and a second and discussion? What would be our next steps?
I guess you would vote for both candidates, although I'm not quite sure one can nominate themselves.
No, I'm not. I mean, obviously you can't do that, but my discussion is, you know, if it's, you know, there aren't votes for me, so enough. I understand that, but I'm just putting forward that I think we should switch it up.
So we have a motion and a second. We've had discussion.
Yeah, I mean,
Any further
if
discussion?
there's any other nominees?
Any other nominees?
Anybody's gonna nominate anyone else?
Yeah.
So that we have some options on the table. I'll nominate Ken for president.
Okay, great. Thank you. So what would be the next steps, Brian?
You'd vote for each candidate.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for a vote for Kent Ezra for president.
Aye.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so you got two votes for
Two
Ken.
votes. All against? Aye.
Aye.
3-2. Motion doesn't carry. I'll entertain a motion to nominate Sanjay Patel, myself, for president of the RDC.
Aye, motion.
Have a motion?
I'll second.
Have a
I
motion and a
thought we
second.
couldn't do that.
Well, Jacqueline,
I
I think she already moved
motion
it.
Yeah,
I
first.
think she already moved it, I believe.
Yeah. I
So
already
we're
did.
just, yeah, I guess we'll have a vote on
We're
that.
summarizing.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-2. Great, thank you all.
Mhm.
Next item on the agenda would be election of a vice president, and I nominate Jacqueline Spillane. I entertain a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries 3-0, I guess. I didn't hear ayes or noes on the other. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. The next item up for business is election of secretary. entertain a motion or a nomination.
What are the duties of the secretary for the RDC?
So most of the official duties vary, but a lot of times they're just signing off, verifying, basically votes, counts. It's more of an official capacity. They're not taking notes by any means. Town staff will manage all of that.
I'll nominate Dave over for secretary if you're willing.
Sure.
A second.
Second, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay. Now going back to our agenda, Corey. Would you like to present a director's report, please?
I would like to just, before I start, my name's Corey Sharp, and I've been acting in a leadership role for the Zionsville Redevelopment Commission. And last month I gave a presentation that outlined an overall kind of where are we at and what are we going to do this first quarter. My intent for this month is to give a presentation on what is an RDC, what are your responsibilities, who are you, and maybe even give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves as new members, and so that anybody can see in the audience as well. So be thinking of that as I go through my presentation, and I want to give you 2 minutes each to give yourself an introduction. I would like, if you would be willing to give this director's report at the beginning of each meeting, just to give you a general update on where we are on projects, so that I can have an opportunity to explain in a public platform, you know, what we're all working on, and then also get guidance from you, the RDC members, on how to continue to move forward. The other thing that we have been doing at the RDC is giving a monthly TIF report. This has basically been a readout of what activities are happening in the TIF areas. I've asked for staff to continue to keep this TIF report in our agenda and have it be a printout, but not necessarily spend meeting time doing the readout of that report. So it's all publicly available, but I would rather use this speaking time for other things. So without further ado, you, the Redevelopment Commission, have basically two primary purposes. And I understand that some of this may be a duplication from last month, but just for, for the new members. Your responsibilities involve planning and development. And really it gets down to managing blight, providing opportunities for economic development, and replanning of areas that could use revitalization. And you're doing planning, thinking time. This might not be a lot of action, but really it's a lot of coordination between DPW, between the planning department, between private parties and the RDC, the council, the mayor. There's a lot of moving parts. Then on the flip side, it is actually the development. This is where real money is moving and shovels are hitting the ground. And our job there is to, again, just maximize the opportunity for rehabilitation and redevelopment. Just continuing to move the needle for private enterprise. Your responsibility, your jurisdiction area is the entire area of Zionsville, the area in blue here. We may choose to work in specific areas, and I will hit that a little bit later in the presentation, but you have the capability to work anywhere in Zionsville. And I'm going to keep on buzzing through, but if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt. As I mentioned, my name's Corey Sharp, and I am serving as your redevelopment director. Later on in the agenda, you will have a contract proposal. Theoretically, once you approve that proposal, you will be my bosses. I am responsible to 6 members of the RDC. I coordinate with town council and I coordinate with the mayor. Right now, my contract is with the mayor. Once, if you choose to accept my proposal today, then it will shift over and that contract will terminate. The mayor has an administrative staff and it has department heads. The planning department head is Mike Dale. He is a certified planner and has been on staff for 3 months and doing a fabulous job. Stupendous job. How about that? And Zach Lutz, who is there, or is it Lutz? How do you pronounce your last name?
It's Lutz.
Okay. And then not here tonight is Owen Young. Zach and Owen have really been a foundation for me and Mike as we have relatively new to the town of Zionsville. So I'm not necessarily connected in the town's hierarchy. Your staff relies on the town to help administer and really serve as a resource for getting stuff done because that's our responsibility. You RDC members, by the state law, there's 3 appointing bodies, the mayor, the council, and the school board. So with that in mind, the mayor gets 3 appointees, council gets 2, and the school board gets 1. The school board member is a non-voting member. So while you see 6 members here, only 5 members creating the odd vote stands. So if you would, please introduce yourselves for the public and give a 2-minute introduction and who has appointed you. Kent, do you want to start?
Sure. I'm an appointee of the town council. I've been an appointee of town council. I've been on the RDC for 6 years, 7 years. I'm not sure. I can't remember. So I've been here a while.
Your local business owner.
Oh yeah, I'm a local business owner. I own Cobblestone here in town.
Okay. David?
Good evening, David Ober. I'm a new member of the RDC appointed by the town council. My wife and I moved to Zionsville 3-ish years ago, live in the Willows. And I work for the Indiana Chamber of Commerce as the Vice President of Tax and Public Finance.
Great, thank you. Good evening, I'm Sanjay Patel. I'm appointed by Mayor Styron on RDC. I'm a 19-year resident of town of Zionsville and I'm president and CEO of a civil engineering firm in Indianapolis.
I'm Amanda Rubeck and I'm newly appointed to the RDC and I was appointed by the mayor's administration. I'm a board member for Z-Works in the community. I'm also treasurer for the Zionsville Community Development Corporation, currently running for town council at large. And I serve as the area manager for Star Financial Bank.
My name is Jacqueline Spillane, also appointed by the mayor. I was on the RDC about a year. I'd say I joined about a year ago or a little bit more. Prior to that, I served on the CDC for the town. I'm a resident of Zionsville since for about over 15 years now. Live in one of the smaller northern subdivisions. And I also volunteer my time with Tri Kappa here in Zionsville and I work for Genesis.
My name is Katie Ashleman. I am here as the appointed representative from the Zionsville School Board, starting my 3rd year of my first term as a school board member. My main day job, I serve as a commercial lender for BMO Harris Bank, specifically working with tax exempt organizations. I spent 8 years working in local government prior to joining the bank. Lived in Zionsville for 13 years.
Great, thank you.
Thank you all. I appreciate you allowing me to do that on the spot. No warning. So you have these public meetings, which are publicly noticed. We also have the capability to hold executive sessions. And in the past, executive sessions have been sporadic. But now that we are getting some projects moving and some development deals going forward, we might see more activity or more necessity for an executive session. So an executive session is closed to the public, but it is publicly noticed. So when Zach sends out the public notice, he'll say, you know, we're going to hold a public an executive session at 5:30. The public meeting will be at 6:30. We can only discuss very specific things. We can only discuss things like collective bargaining, which we probably never would, litigation, real estate transactions, and like human resource contracts, things like that. We just discuss there. There's no action that's made in the executive sessions. The final actions need to happen here in the public, where the public can understand and absorb that information. We are responsible to the state to push out reports on an annual basis. This information is in your binder. So you'll see this whole bunch of this text. Zach did a great job putting your binder together and pulling information. So every April, we have to turn in a fiscal report. Crow is our fiscal agent, and we will continue to work with them on our fiscal reporting and getting those reports uploaded. Cindy is our treasurer, and she will also work with us on getting organized. For instance, Cindy has been helping me pull TIF receipts for the last several years because council has requested that information. And so we're trying to get that organized and pulled together. So we basically have a first quarter report, a second quarter report, and then we have a year-end obligation of reporting out in the public forum of how the money was spent. And we did that in December this last year. Your powers are multifold. They include areas of activity that, again, solely focus on redevelopment areas and economic development areas. So you have the capability to acquire property, to sell property. All of those things happen in the public forum. So if we're going to sell property, we have to sell it through the public notice and offering process. We have the capability to hold and use property. So for instance, this vacant lot in front of Town Hall is owned by the RDC. We have offered it for sale, and we are holding it now. We are now holding it so that we can negotiate a development deal with someone that can deliver a highest and best use for that property and is complementary on Oak Street. Like Creekside, you have the capability to remediate property, to make improvements. The Zionsville Community Development Corporation receives a grant from the RDC in the past, and they have the capability of disseminating those funds for like facade improvements on Main Street or other capital improvements. We have the capability to pay bonds and issue bonds, have debt, pay debt. We have the capability to provide financial assistance to organizations for residential housing and financial assistance for neighborhood development corporations. So there's a lot of cool things that this agency can do that other state mandated agencies can't do. Like, for instance, the Plan Commission can't do this work, which is why redevelopment commissions exist. They exist so that we can move the needle and bring jobs and improve the economic climate in the communities. So I mentioned that we can manage debt and our financial well-being. We basically monitor tax increment financing, and that is a funding mechanism that allows us to capture property taxes after a site has been developed and a baseline has been established. So that those TIF monies that come in, we have the capability of spending that out either to pay the debt obligation or to pay the authorized what we can spend on TIF. And I'll touch on that in a little bit. We have the capability of refinancing existing debt. For instance, there's some roll-off debt in 2025. I believe there's some debt rolling off. We can pay that early, or we can refinance that and package it. And I'll be working with Crow to understand our debt circumstances as it sits today, and if it makes sense to refinance any of that. And then I'm also asking them to put out a report for a 5-year outlook, because planning takes time and then development takes time. And if we're using TIF, then we need to understand our bond capacity and how much we can move forward in a 5-year window. So TIF is different than an EDA. An EDA is this overarching lot that an area that has a specific boundary. It will likely have multiple parcels in it. There is a process to establish an EDA. It has to go before your board, the Plan Commission. It has to go before Town Council. All 3 bodies have public notice, so there's adequate opportunity. There is a public hearing to establish an economic development area. For example, a neighboring town has the entire town as their EDA. Zionsville has areas that are its EDA. So there's the Oak Street area, kind of this neighborhood here, and there's lots of parcels in that. Then you have a TIF area that is inside that bucket. So, and you might have lots of TIFs that are inside that EDA. So we have to establish an EDA first in order to be able to have a TIF. TIF can only be allocated towards very specific things. It's not like you can say, all right, I want to incentivize a bank coming to this area. That's not an approved use of TIF. What we can use TIF for is infrastructure projects. We can use it towards procurement. So if we needed to acquire a skid steer, then we could use that. We can use it to reimburse Zionsville expenditures. We can grant to school corporations, and there is a limit on what we can grant. We can use it towards professional services and capital projects. And that's the pie that we're eating from. And there's a lot of opportunity in Zionsville today. We have a series of economic development areas that have been established and TIF areas that go along with that. Holiday Farms, the 106th Street TIF, and then there are these TIF areas that are within, that EDA. So I see that we didn't get on the agenda to actually have the budget. So you can decide how you want to do the budget. But last month, I presented a budget that incorporated the beginning balance, which is just over $3 million. And then I've broken it out on that TIF. What are we getting in TIF? We are getting $2.8 million. And our debt obligation for that TIF is $1.5 million. So net TIF receipts is $1.3 million. As I mentioned, we have the capability of getting additional funds, and that is, whether it's through the administration's budget and the council's approval of that budget. We also have the capability of receiving real estate land sale. We also have the capability of seeking grants. So if we wanted to seek a grant, an IEDC grant, we could certainly do that. So, total non-TIF receipts is $680,000. Then the second slide is expenditures, and it's broken down in TIF approved expenditures. So again, you see this professional fees and then construction. I'm not showing anything for construction because this is a year of planning and due diligence. And then hopefully in 2024, we'll start breaking ground on some projects. Maybe even the end of 2023, we might see some private entities breaking ground. And then we have commitments to other organizations, like the Economic Development Incentive for Creekside. This was an incentive that was given to LIDS, and now it's Group 1001. And there is a sunset date on that coming up. I do not remember if it's 25 or not, but it is coming up on a sunset. And then we have historically given $250,000 grant money to the Community Development Corporation. So total TIF expenditures is just over $1 million. We do have expenditures that are non-TIF, and that's operating expenditures at 180,000, and then anything miscellaneous. I mean, everybody needs a miscellaneous item in their budget, right? So non-TIF expenditures, 190,000 for a year-end balance of $3.8 million. So we start this year with 3 million. We're going to pay our debt. We're going to collect some additional funds. We are going to not necessarily construct anything this year, save our money, and then start looking at capital expenditures and maybe some consolidation of debt, depending on what Crow tells us, with a year-end balance of $3.8 million. And Mr. President, since this isn't on the actual agenda, if you want it on the agenda, I think you need to vote to add it to the agenda, or this can be a next month item.
To adopt the budget?
Since, you know, we have new members, this will be something that you want to decide. But I have one last slide left, and that's looking forward. So first quarter, what I would like to report out on in this little bit of time that I have is next month looking at the Ready Grant projects, in March looking at the ZGA, and then having a 5-year TIF outlook in April, which also aligns with our April timeline for reporting out to the state as well. So that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any questions before?
Will we get a hard copy of the budget?
Yes.
And is there any negative to not approving the budget tonight and holding it? Or should we consider it?
I mean, I'm happy to approve the budget, but if we have new members that like a little extra time or that have a few questions, we can always push it to next month.
I have a few questions, if that's all right. The incentive, which is on the next slide, in expenditures. So how much of that is encumbered in future years? What was the total that was allotted in Creekside? Is that it's 100,000 per year up to a cap of 2025? How much money has been offered as an incentive?
And I will have to get up with you on that. I don't know. I've read the agreement. I just don't have it stored in my brain.
To my knowledge, on the Creekside deals that we've negotiated since I've been counsel for the RDC, we have not used those funds, I think, as an incentive.
So this is an incentive that was established for LIDS.
Yes.
So this is 100,000 that goes out every year,
Yes.
specifically to LIDS, which is now Group 1001. Zach, do you recall when that expires?
I don't remember the exact expiration date, but like Corey said, it is coming up. It might be 2029, but we would have to look it up to be certain.
And it's a direct payment. It's okay.
Yes,
It's a direct payment.
to Group 1001.
Okay. And the CDC grant, are those grants just in the Zionsville TIF? Are they competitive? What types of projects are being funded? Is it just a line item for the CDC from TIF receipts?
Yeah. And I'll let Commissioner Rubrick fill in because she's the secretary. Amanda,
Me, I'm
Yeah.
the treasurer
treasurer.
of the CTC. I say that one more time, David, I apologize.
So my assumption is that this line item is simply a contribution to the CDC for their purposes.
It is, and then it's issued out in grants.
Okay.
And
Understood.
then they're reviewed before the CDC.
Yeah. I was a member of the CDC prior to the RDC, and yes, we would receive the budget from the RDC annually,
Mhm.
and we would review grants, and it was a approval process to grant
And all
those.
the grant approvals come through the RDC.
Yes.
Correct.
Mhm.
And the CDC's in the process of becoming a not-for-profit. I think that's in the works, where they would not necessarily rely on the contribution that the RDC makes to their funds.
Okay.
Not saying the RDC cannot make future contributions, but they're looking for a larger view of how they can help the community.
I move that we add the 2023 budget as old business to tonight's agenda.
Okay. Have a motion,
A second.
a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Is
Okay.
it now up for approval?
Yes, let's go ahead and I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget as presented.
A second.
I think he needs a motion.
So moved.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Was that a 5-0 vote? I wasn't sure.
Yes, it was.
Thank you. Approval and adoption of the minutes. Are you good?
I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. Approval and adoption of minutes from our special meeting on December 16th, 2022. The minutes are in your package.
I will motion to approve the minutes from December 16th.
Okay, we have a motion.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Corey, can you share with us small business microloan program dissolution and what we've done within the past and the reason for dissolving it?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to let Brian fill in.
Okay.
Brian,
Yes.
would you mind? Brian has done the research on the history of this program, on the dissolution of the small business loan. So if you could just give a summary of
Yes.
this, and because I know there was more legal review than, ancillary review.
Yeah, this was an agenda item, I think, that was raised during the December meeting, and there was some confusion because it was discussed in terms of the town council's involvement in the creation of this program, which caused confusion because it seemed, at least the assumption of the town council was involved, that this was town council appropriated money that was used for this program. But then begged the question, why was the RDC involved if it was town council appropriated, money? Kind of what was the history of this? And if you choose to unwind this program and discontinue it, then how do you do that? And so there's the questions that we asked, and we got a strange answer. This is a program that's funded through TIF funds and has been, since its inception in 2013. Yet the town council was also involved in passing confirmatory resolutions that we have. I think we couldn't find the RDC resolutions, could we, Zach?
I don't know if there were any RDC resolutions regarding it. None
They were
that I
probably
could
like
find.
oral minutes, maybe, or they were probably oral approvals in the minutes, maybe something like that. So for whatever reason, everyone at the time decided that there needed to be parallel approvals. But since these are TIF funds, they're not, quote, public funds in terms of the RDC statute that need to be appropriated or approved by the town council. So it's our conclusion that this is an RDC matter, and this is, if you decide that you want to discontinue this program and then wind it up, that it's within the RDC's power to vote to do that, and it does not need to go to the council because they're TIF funds, and then the TIF funds would revert back to your budget.
Thank you. Any questions? How has the microloan program been used? I don't recall seeing it used in the last 5 years, really.
Yeah, I don't.
There has been utilization and unfortunately, it went south. So the CDC ended up with a $25,000, I believe, grant. And then the business went under. And so it begged the question in the CDC as to if we allow grants within the Zionsville Community Development Corporation, why did we have a microloan program? And really, a microloan program, in my opinion, and my expertise is really that it should have some oversight, and it really lacked the underwriting capacity in order to be successful with the town of Zionsville. So,
Great, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Historically, has it been encumbered on each year's budget, 200,000 for this program?
I don't believe so.
I believe so.
Was it?
I believe so.
I'm not sure about, I know in looking at previous budgets, the Community Development Corporation grant has been line itemed, but the specific microloan program, I have not seen it line itemed in the past. So I believe the way it was nested underneath the Community Development Corporation funding.
So
The way it appeared was there was an initial allocation of, what was it, $200,000 for the program?
yeah,
Added
the
to
initial
funds.
allocation, I believe in 2011, they created a bank account, put the money in it. And because they're loans, you would obviously give the money out and then it would be paid back. But because it wasn't successful, it kind of set stagnant. And at this point, we're just getting bank fees because it's inactivity. And so that's kind of where we're at now.
So these dollars are sitting in an account and they will be consolidated back into the TIF fund.
That is correct.
minus 25,000, right?
Minus whatever the amount that was given out. And then obviously those companies fell through. So whatever money was dished out isn't going to be.
But if they show back up to repay it, the resolution says you get the money, that you get that money too. Yeah.
Great discussion. Entertain a motion to dissolution of the small business microloan program for the RDC.
Second.
Yeah, Zal motion to
Okay,
solution the micro.
so a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Corey, Executive Director Agreement.
Your next business item is a contract for me to serve as your executive director. My roles and responsibilities basically lie around the leadership and facilitation of public-private partnerships, doing real estate transactions, and communicating your redevelopment commission action and agenda, so to speak. So making things happen, having a person that in communities that I've worked with in the past, having a person responsible for making the needle move forward, that takes intentional time and effort. And while we kind of get our ducks in a row, conversations are still happening. And then before you know it, you'll have a land acquisition sale drop in your lap because there's someone focused on getting your mission accomplished. So in your packet, you have a contract proposal. And after some discussion, I would, let me back up a little bit. I am currently under contract with the mayor, and I serve at the mayor's pleasure. And I have an hourly contract. When I started, it was to fill a gap in staff. And now my responsibilities have expanded as the mayor and council and you all have gotten excited about the opportunities for redevelopment in the community. So in having conversations with Zionsville leadership, it became apparent that once you had an actual budget, you could have actual staff. And so we are shifting my contract from underneath the administration umbrella to underneath the Redevelopment Commission's umbrella. So that's change number one. My scope really doesn't change other than my bosses change. And there's a couple other changes that I had proposed that after discussion, I'd like to propose an amendment to while we're talking about it. In it, you will see a 2-year contract proposal. Since we approved a 1-year budget, I would like to propose an amendment to just have a 1-year contract. And then I am also I will add a conflict of interest and a disclosure to that. And then there were some other administrative terms that I will change in that as well regarding reference to the ZRC and the ZRC instead of a redevelopment department. And then looking at comprehensive communicating with legal teams and not isolating, specific legal teams in the Zionsville framework. So I would happily make those amendments to the contract before you. And I'm happy to take any questions or other changes that you may have.
Great. And when you do the 1-year contract, could you make it ending December 31, 23?
I can do
Instead
that.
of the January date?
Yep.
Corey, I think you have covered many of the items that were noted previously. Any additional questions for Corey in regards to her contract for 2023?
The only other item I would add is item 10 on page 2 we discussed. It mentions the third Monday council meeting.
Yes, thank you.
My preference would be that you are just, if necessary, generally available for any council meeting.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions, Corey? I'll entertain a motion to approve Corey's contract with Innovative Planning LLC, Corey's company, she's the CEO and president. So moved. With the included revisions.
The amendments.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
And thanks for placing your trust in me.
Next agenda item, we have claims for approval. Can you walk us through, or Zach's gonna walk us through the claims?
Cindy, if you have
Oh, I'm sorry, Cindy.
Evening, Cindy Poor, interim CFO. These are the remaining 2022 claims. There might be possibly in your next meeting just a couple of stragglers, but for the most part, your next meeting will mostly be 2023 claims.
Town hall lease payments an annual payment, correct?
I'm sorry,
The town hall lease payment
it's twice a year.
twice a year.
Mhm.
Okay.
Is the last item on here, so it's the 496. Is that a bond payment or?
Yes.
Okay. I move approval of claims listed on this sheet.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? On favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And you've already done the RDC 101? Okay. Thank you. Any other business for the RDC for today? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion and second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.